Alright, hey guys, so this is my follow-up video that's going to be unlisted, but for those seeking just more information or my general opinion on the rest of the Zelda entries. It's a little more casual here. My desk is not as tidy. I'm just in my oversized Transformer shirt. This is going to be a fun little casual take on some of these. So I'm just going to kind of open these. I'm going to have the folder up. I'm going to try to figure out which ones I did mention, which ones I didn't, and I'll just give my 2 cents on that. So I think the first one is Brat Prince here. Let me see, how do I preview this? All right, here we go. Yeah, I mean, so again, it's cool. It's a little stiff. It feels odd that Link is standing at like such an awkward angle. And I guess that would be like my general take on this overall is that, I mean, I love the red tunic. I love this version of Link. But everything about how this is just a bit awkward. The lighting is very indecisive in regards to what it's doing. Is it soft lighting? Is it direct lighting? If it is direct lighting, which is the lighting direction it's coming from? Like a lot of these questions you got to figure out before you get to the color stage. It just feels very unplanned in that regard. And like I said, having like the weird angles and such aren't helping it. All right, so moving forward, Cosmoth. Again, I love this piece. I think this is nice, lovely. I think it's well on its way. But again, before you get into like the full kind of color and painting side of it, the drawing in it, right? The fundamental drawing in it feels very off. So again, I just had these notes pulled up. You need to get better reference, or you need to just get good reference and stay closer to it, to your fundamentals are sound enough to venture out from that reference. Again, here's some just like nice, simple drawings of horses. Here's a reference of a girl riding a horse. These are the things you're going to want to look at so you can get in there and correct all of that at a drawing stage before applying any kind of color, lighting, and paint. All right, moving along. Derek. I love this piece. It just didn't make it in. I think just generally, my take is like Link feels like way too big here, so I shrank that, and I think you got to kind of correct out the posing of the legs. There's something about the way the legs are set up on yours, especially like in here, it just feels really awkward. Again, really nice rendering in here. I think the background definitely feels, there's a lot of parts of it that feel a little unfinished. I think once you kind of figure that out, maybe make a few of these adjustments, it's going to come together. But again, overall, very nice. It just didn't fit into one of like those specific categories I picked out for that video. All right, what else here? I think I talked about all of these. Keanu. Yeah, this is cool. And this is going to fall in probably some of the similar suggestions I'm going to have for a lot of people coming up. It's nice. The drawing again needs to be there. Like it looks like Link is kind of made of goo or putty. Like it's almost like he's kind of getting melted away. And of course, all of the folds and the clothing, it just feels very unreferenced. So again, before going to paint, before going to color, really try to resolve more of this than you have because I know you posted some drawings. I saw it pop up in the Discord, but you're going to want to go further than that in the drawing stage to figure and plan out the scene. That means getting the anatomy of like the feet, the toes right, definitely the hands and the elbow, all those things, and the anatomy of the folds and the clothing. And you can kind of see that a difference where a really good strong foundation has, like Zhao fans, right, is very similar, but you can see like it comes from like a stronger foundation. So once the foundation's there, it's going to work out even better for you. Okay, we went over Kyle's. I don't think Lorraine's, yours made the cut either, not for any particular reason. I was just trimming stuff out. Again, I think this is lovely. I had like a very few minor suggestions. This is all for me, what's it called? Tangents. Can't think of it. Right? Like you just have the edge of this touching Link's head. That's a no. You don't want to do that. Give it some space, like this, good amount of headroom, or overlap it. I still think this kind of makes an awkward shape. I don't think I would do it, but you got to get that tangent fixed. I recommended adding a few other aisles to kind of work with this flow. You can kind of see it in there. A lot of this gets really lost, and it does look very unfinished up here. You know, it should look all very consistent with what you have down here. So like the bottom looks finished, the top looks pretty unfinished. But you could correct the values, tighten that up. It'll still make a very lovely vertical illustration. All right, what do we got up next? Miller, we did Lester's. Megamind. I don't think we covered yours. Yeah, and this is cool. I think the drawing mostly works, but it definitely it's in the painting techniques and the lighting that feels like that's the most room for you to improve. So, for example, right, like your sky is just a flat white. Sky's never flat white, and it never looks good flat white. Not even the most hazy and foggiest conditions does a flat white ever look aesthetically pleasing in a sky. Make it blue, make it orange, make it yellow green, make it anything. If you're gonna go very neutral, just use grays, like lots of grays to make it neutral. I mean, it seems like with what you're going for, just go with like a blue sky. Like, why not? It works. Just think it'll make it work. Besides that, it has like the very digital art aesthetic. Like you could see all the technique footprints you have left behind, which is something to watch out for everybody. Like again, this water doesn't feel like it's in motion or moving. It's all like the same kind of brush or technique all throughout there. So I'm like, this is rough, but like, break that up with reflections, with water, with mud, with ripples. It just doesn't look like a running stream. You've got grass brush syndrome going on throughout the rest of it. It all looks like, look at this. You get the same pattern and the same mark with the same grass brush everywhere. Again, that's the tell that you got to blend that. You got to use some sort of different aesthetic to break it up. I didn't really paint over that. I was just kind of correcting bigger color notes in that regard. But yeah, like that's the big thing. It's digital painting. Just do more of it, a lot more of it. Be careful of using the digital art photo or the brushes, that like grass brushes, water brushes, things like that. Again, I think you can get a lot more mileage controlling the hard round or like a square round or just like the square brush, anything like that. So you got to manually make all these adjustments. All right, sorry. This is, of course, at the hour you're going to hear my kids running around raising hell. I usually do record these videos when they're in bed for that reason. All right, I think we covered the rest of these. Oh, okay. So there was a few more here. One's like I think it's just Noah's, right? Because I talked about paying. Yeah, we got last up. Right? A nice little quick video for today. Right. Again, there was one more I know I saw. I'll find it. No, again, this looks cool, right? This is super epic, but it's also... It just visually appears far from finished. It's like this is like a first pass. So it's like I can kind of see what you're going on here with, but again, there's no... It shows like a very lack of control over the technique, I guess. It all is kind of like it has a runny kind of look. The edges are all over the place. But further than that, I would try to nail the lighting down to really kind of push, what you want to go with. I do think this is maybe getting infected with too much white, kind of like the other entry we just looked at. But I mean, the idea itself is cool, and compositionally, I think besides like the arms here, both these arms just don't work. One's just dead hanging, and one's swinging up out of the frame. I just think that would need to get resolved, and then figure out the lighting. And again, you have a very cool picture here. All right. Which other ones? Am I just gonna end this? Oh, there is more rows. They were hidden. I thought there were more. All right. So, Taylor's, right? I love this piece. I did make sure it at least got a little bit of exposure in part of that video. Again, it's very competently well done. This is actually a little suggestion I had. Right? It does, like, you can still see the Photoshop filters on this a little too much. I try to go for more subtlety. I do like the overall setup. I recommended pushing contrast on the figure more. Um, Bigger area of shadow right here. A little more light kind of hitting here just to really hit that movement home. This is kind of like a little bland. I got to figure something to do to make like this look aesthetically pleasing, whether it's with the brushworks or smaller details. But it does feel like it's kind of like a bit of a rough for a more finished idea. And again, if it was feeling a lot more finished, it probably would have made it in. Again, I think it's really close, but definitely just keep going with it. I do genuinely like it. I think it is a very cool image. Unknown. So you were kind of more the beginner at this. Again, everything about this, let's just say from a design, from a composition, is kind of awkward. Like, why are we just seeing like a hand in first person view, and like what are we trying to communicate with that? I mean, I'm just purely talking technique aside, which we know you're still developing and have a ways to go with that. But it's just like, let's start with the idea. Like, what are you trying to express and show with a composition like this? And did you do a lot of thumbnails to kind of plan that out? You have like a center or a circle in your composition, one of which is making a big tangent here at the top, and then you have nothing really meaningful in the center of it, and then the hand just adds to more awkwardness in terms of that. I think like if you're trying to show someone's climbing out of a pit or wounded on the ground, like I think you need that whole character in there, and you need to show the desperation of them clinging to life as they're reaching for something, and that's something should be clear in the picture. There's a couple more. Very spicy robot. So this is iPad. Again, I love this setup. I can kind of make do. This is got a lot of value issues. Like or the values are like non-existent. Like these are all the same value. If you desaturate this and look back, it's almost impossible to read. So you got to figure out what kind of lighting and block your values, and then of course tighten it up. And I think it could be a lot more efficient. I see what you did with the whole overlay of the UI, but kind of the beauty of this thing is that we don't have to deal with the UI because it's art, it's pictures. I get it if you're trying to mock it up. I see what you're going for, but I think, it just doesn't need it. I think you get the same idea that captures the essence of the game without cluttering it with user interface stuff. Vibe, whatever. Yeah, this is cool. It's very overly detailed. You're like trying to out-render yourself. Like everything here is detail, detail, detail. You got to focus on the bigger picture first. You got to break things down into shapes and work on the atmospheric lighting of those shapes and try to communicate that idea without going into all these little details. I guess the closest thing I can kind of show, to an example on that was like when I was doing mine with those planning stages, like something kind of like this. See, like the picture should be pretty digestible, like easy to understand, with no actual details. See, like here in the final scene, there's a lot of subtle detail in these shadows, but like graphically, it should still kind of stand on its own. Here's another kind of better example of that. That just has some line art in it. That way it'll show you what to focus on and where. Sorry, I'm like dying here. Christ. But I think it's more so like a planning thing. Because like you don't have to move a lot of things around here. But it's just like, for me, it's lighting. And balancing that detail. Use light to show and what not to show in a picture. Like if you have nice crispy details here, you don't need all these. So you have equal perfect details in light and shadow. Where in the shadow you can apply a lot more of this. You can be more expressive with your marks. Like I covered that a few videos ago, and I think the things I wish I learned, I covered that extensively in that one maybe. So I definitely would check that out if you hadn't. But I think, okay, we got Zuri. So I think that's the last one, right? This one didn't make the cut either. Again, nice setup. But again, you got like, there's no visual hierarchy in this picture. So there's like nothing interesting. There's no drama going on. So it's hard to invest a viewer when that is the scenario. See, like, for example, you have equal emphasis on ground and sky. That's a 50-50 split without one of those clearly being the point. So like again, you have a big wide open sky, nothing going on. Cut this guy out. Like just crop the image. Remove it. I lost it right here. Like just crop it out. You don't need all this dead space up here. Again, this has got a very similar setup to Lester's very successful version. This is the opposite. I mean, this is a Zelda piece. Most of these kinds of pieces are going to look better with the inclusion of a hero character or something right here. Again, it's just giving us a gateway to nothing. You're setting us up, but there's no payoff. There's nothing. There's no grand spectacle or setting here, right? Like, you got to give the viewer a reason to care on some kind of basic fundamental level. And I think that's what it's not doing. Again, the picture could be about this gateway. The picture could be about this village back here. The village could be about this tree here. Again, it all kind of just gets lost in the indecisiveness of the design. So I think once you kind of commit to like, hey, make a simple statement. This is what this painting is about. Then you can find the best way to express that. All right? Take it easy, guys. Thank you for submitting. This has been a lot of fun. So I'll catch you guys next time.